Alright, so I just got done testing it outside, and it does in fact work. It turns a lot more tighter now, so all I gotta do now is figure out how exactly I'm going to attach this to the base and get all that situated. So I'll come back when I get everything else all figured out. Alright, so with that said, I'm going to let the video just render out. I'm going to go and test my RC car. So the video previously to this one shows the whole process of me going through the whole thing and just eventually taking the RC car, taking the hobby ready parts out of the hobby car and moving them into this one. And running it around and actually it working. The only thing different in this video is that I decided to take this little caster wheel I had, which is the one I used for my life-size Miku, and I decided to use this because this thing will be because this thing easily spins. It'll require less resistance than the magnet system I currently have in this thing. Because of the way I want this thing to run is that I want this thing to be able to take some relatively tight turns. In the current system I have in this thing, it doesn't really allow it to do tight turns. So I set this thing up temporarily in a way to where this thing doesn't work. I just pull all this stuff off and it's not going to damage this little lip right here. But if this actually works, I'm going to rip all this off and completely redesign the attachment system for this RC car. But for right now, I just want to see if this caster wheel system actually works. Alright, so when it comes to the driving system for this now, here's how I have the caster wheel set up. It's slightly forward of the back wheels, and it's all basically hinging somewhere around in here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go make this thing set up properly for the base so it can connect properly. And I'm going to make it, and since it goes like this for right now, I'm going to add a little piece of wood to a certain point, that way so when this thing's actually on the base itself, it will again be pushing just a little bit of pressure down onto the front wheels so the front wheels are making proper contact. If the front wheels don't make proper contact, this thing doesn't steer worth a crap, because these things are able to spin freely and they're not actually forcing the thing to turn in the direction that it should and whatnot. So yeah, I do need to get in contact with New Bright to see if they have upgraded versions of the steering system that they have for this car, because the current steering system is hot trash. The wheels are very, very wobbly and loose, and the actual plastic is wearing away. So if these survive if the front end here survives the convention, I'll be surprised. But I don't have high hopes for the steering system surviving the convention. Also, a quick update to the video editing problems. This guy right here, which I can't really pronounce his name, recommended me to use this software here, which I'm currently using to render out the next Kongou update that I need to upload prior to the one I'm recording right now. So 30 minutes for essentially a 15-minute video. That's reasonable. You gotta remember, my i5 that I'm using, which is an i5 4200, I believe. Give me a second. No, not that. Go away. Oh no, it's an Intel i5 2400. This is a relatively old CPU, so if I can get basically this much, or if I can get to where it takes a little bit, like a little past 30 minutes just to render out a 15-minute video, that's more than reasonable. The next test will be, where's that stupid video? Is this one right here, which is 10 gigs and it's about an hour or so. That is a video of me just complaining about how long it takes files to copy from my iPhone 7 and how there's problems with it. So heads up on that video. Don't watch it if you want to be bored half to death. But I do throw the iPhone at a wall. You don't see it, but you can hear it. But the iPhone still works, and that's towards the end. So yeah, back with the Kongou build. Alright, now I got everything all situated with the base. All I gotta do now is actually spray paint it. I got the car here to work properly with its new turning system, which is just a simple little pivot area. I have this here, that way so when it's actually sitting on it, there's just a little bit of pressure applied to the front to keep the two front tires making proper contact and making it so it turns properly. I add this little piece of popsicle stick to make sure the antenna doesn't bend too much. I also add a little hot glue here so it can easily take some of the force. This little barrel jack right here that connects the two RC car, whatever we call them, together. So like I said, all I gotta do now is just spray paint the whole thing. Spray paint the base. The only thing I gotta watch is the servo to make sure the servo just doesn't become too loose, and I also gotta make sure the connection points that actually connect the tires to the steering system don't fail, because again, like I said, I don't expect these to survive the convention because they're in such horrible shape. I should actually pop one of these wheels off to show you how bad it is. Alright, and here you can actually see where I grinded away. The outer thickness towards the edge here is how thick it's supposed to be. This is how thin it got right here towards the edge. Hence why I don't think this will be able to survive the convention. Even though there is a screw going directly through it, that screw will be the last part that will be stopping this thing from snapping. So once I actually get this thing completed, I'm gonna make a separate video and post it, and it'll be specific to the New Bright themselves, and see if they can help me out with this, because I don't want to spend another $50 for an RC car that I've already heavily modified. So yeah. Alright, so I'm sitting here getting everything spray painted. I have it close to the front of the shed so I can have a breeze and whatnot. And normally this cat would be being incredibly annoying, constantly going inside the shed. But for once he's being a good cat and actually just sitting right next to me, watching what I'm doing and just keeping me company. Even though he's an annoying cat, he's a good annoying cat. A very good annoying cat. I think I'll end this update video here, because the only last thing for me to do now is to finish out the little hair chain in the back of her head, and then do the done video. So it's probably gonna be like another week or so before I upload again, because it's gonna take me a while to build that chain in the back of her hair. But I just got done spray painting the base all matte black. Now I don't know if you'll be able to tell or not, but there is a difference in the black, because one is nice and smooth and one is just like this. That's because I have a mixture of plain white foam board and black foam board. The reason why I have black foam board is it was the only foam board Walmart had, unfortunately, at the time. So it looks off, but at the end it's still a matte black, and it'll still look just fine at the conventions. So all I really gotta do now is I gotta wait for all this. I just gotta wait for all the spray paint to dry and whatnot, which is gonna take about like a day or two to actually dry. Even though this is just foam board, but I don't want this paint to be fully cured before I start putting Kongou on this thing. The only other thing I might need to end up doing is somehow making this area a little bit more tighter, because the little pole light that goes inside here is a tad bit too loose, and it'll pop off every now and then. Granted, I won't be running the car that fast in the first place, so if it does pop off at the conventions, I can easily stop it before it actually starts causing a problem. But there's still a few more things I have to do that can easily be done off camera that really are not worth keeping inside of it. Keep posting a video about and whatnot. And apparently he wants inside again. So yeah, I'll just end this video here, and all the other stuff I need to do I'll do off camera, and come back in about a week or two or so. Come on, cat, don't get any fur on it. And come back in about a week or so with everything fully complete, and this thing maybe being a bit more annoying. Alright, last part, I lied. This is going to be the final part of this build video, or not build update, or whatever you call it. So as you can tell, I have her in my closet. This is a pretty horrible setup. I mean, I have mid-main Freya here. I have my Viking scope here. This is all just temporary. I'm trying to figure out a proper way to store Kongou and whatnot. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to pull the boxes down from my Viking scope. That way, so they'll be all. That way, so the actual Viking scope itself will be somewhere over here on in its boxes. That way, so it'll be nice and tidy. And whenever I want to actually use this thing, I just need to pop it out of its box. Granted, it's going to be a bit of a pain to actually use my Viking scope, but I don't want to use this thing that much. So if I can just put it into the boxes and have it right here, to where it's not taking up so much space, I'll be able to use the space that is currently being occupied by my Viking scope to be able to actually place Kongou in. I'll probably make a whole separate little system for her, a whole separate chair for her to sit on, because I don't think I can easily get the stand I made for her to fit in here, but I might be able to if I'm lucky. But for right now, I'm not going to try that out because, well, I don't really want to bring it in here because it still stinks to high heaven of spray paint. But there is one more thing I want to talk about, and then I'll end this video. Alright, last part I want to talk about is the skirt or cloak or whatever this part is that she has on her back. I don't really want to do this, but this is the only way I can figure out how to get this thing in a way I can easily store it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it slightly beyond these little magnets. That way, so it'll just be basically a little cut right across here, and I'll try and make it look as clean as possible. And what I'm going to do is that at the edges of the actual cut is I'll line it with clear tape. There'll be an ugly clear tape line here, but if I do it that way, it'll allow me to actually just reconnect these two parts just by using simple clear tape, and I can make the connections look relatively decent. I have a few ideas of how to get it to work properly, but for right now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it most likely either tomorrow or the next day when I start really getting down to finishing her off. And I also need to go and spray paint the underside of this matte black so it doesn't have that ugly white. So now is going to be the end of this video.